I love a really random and niche game, especially if it's got like an abstract or very niche audience to go for, and What's the Matter certainly fits all that criteria. It's a twin-stick shooter that's introducing children to the periodic table of elements. Ah yes, that very well-known edutainment crossover. You play as Matty Matter, and you set off across space to 3 different locations to collect the periodic table of elements. The elements are represented as humans, but I did like the fact that they've got like a molecule for a belly. And the idea is that Matty Matter will float around space and shoot up all of the asteroid fields, comets, stars, and fight off various aliens and robots to get to the elements and collect them. As you collect them and as you shoot up various things, you'll be collecting coins as you go. And eventually, when you die at the end of a run, this triggers off a very simplistic roguelike, I guess, element to the game. Because then you'll spend those coins to upgrade Matty Matter for the next run, but it's for the next run only. So you can upgrade your fire rate of your gun, you might be able to upgrade your HP, it could be that you unlocked a sonar, which could mean that you can find the next element a bit quicker and easier, especially because each level is randomly generated every time you play. It's not going to always be in the same place every time. It could be that you spend money to equip a dash or a shield, or because one of the things that you can do is rummage through space debris and find coins or upgrades that you can then buy on your next run and kind of be added to your arsenal of things that you can pick from. This means that you can upgrade how quickly you can search through that. The reason why that's important is because when you're searching through space debris, you're vulnerable to anything coming towards you. So that could be an alien, it could be an asteroid. So the quicker you can search, the quicker you can get in and out without being hit. This all hangs together relatively nicely. It's simple to play, it's easy to pick up and understand, and I quite like the hand-drawn graphics. What I really like about them, though, is the fact that whilst it's hand-drawn and it's all done in like kids' crayons and pencils and all of that kind of stuff, that isn't an excuse for then having poor hit detection. And I was a bit worried when I first picked up this game because I was thinking, is this going to be an excuse for being woolly? And thankfully it's not. Hit detection is spot on. I think that that's really important for a twin-stick shooter. And although the graphics don't really change much across the 3 different locations that you go to, it feels well put together and not an excuse for being poor, if that makes sense. The upgrade system means that alongside the randomly generated levels, each playthrough does feel unique, and whilst initially I was put off by the fact that your upgrades only last for the next run, unless you have an absolutely dog run, then in general you'll get more coins because your character is better, and therefore you'll be able to go further and further. You just have to not be too cavalier about it, I think. You can play with a mouse or a controller, both work really well. It's simplistic, don't expect too much like bells and whistles flying out everywhere, but it doesn't do anything terribly. What I also liked is the theming around shooting as well. You start off with a click, and it's literally Matty clicking, and that sends out one shot, and then you can upgrade him to being able to clap. The annoying thing initially with clapping is that you have to trigger that constantly with the trigger button over and over and over again, whereas clicking is something that you can just have like automatically going by holding down the button. So that was slightly annoying. The only other thing that I would say about this game is the whole edutainment element of it, and I don't think it's implemented particularly well. Yes, when you collect an element, a lady shouts out what the element is called, and yes, when you die, whatever element was the last one that you collected is shown with like a description about it in the menu, as it gives you your top score and how many times you've played and all of that kind of stuff. But outside of that, there's no other information. Nothing really joins up this whole idea. And so all it would need is as you go through and, I don't know, one of the 3 levels you go through the game and you unlock that element in the levels, it gives you an additional fact and you'd be able to look at it through the menu, so that it's not just a game that's got, oh look, I'm like a quirky edutainment theme. It actually delivers some education alongside the gameplay elements itself. Because where this game, and I think it's better for it, is like 90% game, 10% edutainment. That 10% of edutainment is really, really like thin on the ground. And so that means that I then have to compare this game to other twin stick shooters at a similar price point that don't bother with the edutainment and focus purely on the gameplay. And it's very difficult to then recommend what's the matter purely on that basis. Yes, it's quite cute with the hand-drawn graphics. Yes, it's got some interesting audio with some like jazzy MIDI music that slightly interacts with what's going on with the world around you. So some of the aliens, for example, will trigger off saxophone solos or little mini bass lines or something like that. And that's quite cool. But it's still a hugely simplistic game that's going up against, at the £7, 19p price point, some really serious contenders for fantastic arcade classics. And so whilst it's got some interesting theming to stand it out, I think it could be strengthened with just some really simple improvements to the education side of this game to give it a really unique USP so that it can then stand on its own 2 feet. So, interesting, unique, very niche in its title. So 3 things that I personally love. It's a good game. It's very difficult to recommend it against loads of other things that do the same when the actual education side of it is quite lax. Written review will be over on higherplayinggames.com later on this week. You guys take care. Bye-bye. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.